Howdy everybody, what's up? My name is Sabina. I'm the Left-Handed Alchemist and welcome to my channel. This week I'm kind of recycling a video that I posted on my jewelry channel and we just have to be okay with it, you guys. I'm gonna tell you a little story about my week. I haven't slept more than 3 hours each night, and last night I simply lost my mind. I cried myself to sleep on 3 separate occasions. I read like 50 pages of my book between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m. I am not thriving at the moment. It's okay. There's a lot of circumstances that are going into this. And, you know, I've just been overthinking this whole thing. I have something going on next week where I thought I'm going to work ahead this week and I'm going to get all the things done this week that I could do in 2 weeks normally. But I'm going to do it so that I don't fall behind. Fall behind on whose standards? I'm my own boss, okay? I make the rules, I set the deadlines, and I like to do this thing where I put a lot of pressure on myself and I burn out and I don't actually follow through. So instead of not posting a video this week, I am simply going to take the video that I made last week for my jewelry channel and I'm going to redo the voiceover. So if you want to learn the intricacies and the details of how to make this bell necklace, be my guest. Go and click on the link down in my description to the video that is just like more of like a build video. It's more like a tutorial. So if you're a jeweler and you want to know what size torch tips I'm using and gauge of metal and how to actually do the inking and the details of the process for this piece, go and find that information on the other video. For this one, I'm going to talk about life and what's been going on with me for the last, couple weeks since we've spoken last. I tried to film this video yesterday after having like 1.5 hours of sleep the whole night, and I felt like I was losing my little canoodle noggin. So, yeah, I'm gonna finish this video because I want to feel proud of myself for getting this done, and I want to put no pressure on it being perfect, and then I'm gonna go to sleep. So let's get into it. Okay, you guys, let's get into it for real. I'm gonna be so for real. This project was not originally going to be a bell. No, I was going to make toppers for these glass vials that you could put oils and herbs and ashes and really just like whatever bits and pieces you want in them. They have roller balls, so they were really popular a few years ago when everybody was on about, essential oils, but as we've learned recently, essential oils are kind of poisonous and we should not be putting them on our skin. So, I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun, kind of witchy in nature. But what this project ended up turning into is way more witchy and way more fun and way more cool. You see, I made 2 of them. I made one for the larger vial that I still haven't finished. I'm going to be so for real with you guys. It's on my engraving bench and it will get finished eventually. The smaller one was going to be for the smaller roller ball vial that would be more like a keychain vibes. Like maybe you could put like cuticle oil in it so that you stop picking at your nails, because I don't know who else is guilty of having a little crumb of anxiety and then shredding their fingernails and cuticles to bits, but I do. And so I use the oil as a way to replace the habit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's also fun to have a cute little vial of oil on your keys, What can I say? So that was the intention going in. But I get about halfway through the project and I think, I wonder if this would be a cool bell. Like, could I get this to sound like a bell? Could I make this be a bell? Bells are pretty cool, pretty fun. And at the time I was listening to some fairy romance novels. Yeah, that's right. I listen to fairy smut every now and then, and you can't stop me. You won't stop me, and I will do it again. So I don't know about you guys, but I love fantasy. I don't care necessarily if it has smut, as long as it's well written. Fairies have just been an entity, a group of beings, really, that have interested me. It's very interesting how in the countless fairy fantasy novels that I have read throughout the years, how a lot of the lore is really similar, and it makes me think, is this for real? Like, is there something real going on with all of this? Is there something deeper to all of this? Like, sure, it's fun for me to read and or listen to via audiobook, but at the same time, there's enough similarities that it makes me think that there's some kind of like fairy spirit guide that is helping the process of the writing of these books, because some of the information is just like You're all getting your information from the same source. Why is it all the same? And it makes me think about the evolution of myth and the evolution of story, and how, sure, I'm reading Cassandra Clare's, I don't even remember, like Shadowhunter series. The most recent few novels are all about the Seelie and Unseelie courts. And then you hear about the Seelie and Unseelie courts again in The Cruel Prince, and et cetera, et cetera. And it makes me think we are actually continuing the lore of these beings, because in 1,000 years, people might look back on these literary texts as information for how we interacted with these mythological creatures. And I think that's really interesting. And the bell also has an interesting history with witchcraft. And witchcraft is just one of those things where the whole practice has been extinguished in lots of ways and killed off via Christianity. And I'm not here to demonize Christianity. There's a lot of things that are deservingly critiquable about contemporary Christianity. However, a lot of us are victims of indoctrination, and I think that using shaming language is not a way to actually help people see the reality of what is going on. So, I have kind of taken it upon myself to walk a witch's path. I've never really felt called to the one truth of Christ. Never really made sense. Kind of didn't really make sense that there could be one truth for billions of people on one planet, all with very rich, individual, complex lives. It just doesn't make sense how one story is the only story that is supposed to resonate with every human being on the planet. I have very much felt this call towards the divine feminine in a way that has been a little scary, because the divine feminine conjures images of witches and witchcraft. And there's this like DNA level fear that I think is a result of epigenetics and women being killed for being healers and herbalists and using energy and the magic system that the earth provides for us. I think that's a very real thing that a lot of us have had to work through and will continue to work through in this lifetime to help hopefully rewrite the epigenetic DNA code that is involved with the generational trauma of being afraid that you're going to get killed for using herbs to heal yourself. Like, that seems pretty silly to me now from my personal perspective where we are at. But, that is the reality of what has happened to women throughout history for the past several hundred years. The Witch's Bell is something that came to me while I was creating this piece in a way to manifest and conjure and call things in. And the more research that I did, the more I found that witchcraft, and specifically the witch's bell, was used to help protect from evil spirits and to keep your home and family protected. And so you would wear a bell on yourself when you're out walking in the woods to basically ward yourself from evil spirits, which I think is really interesting. And I would like to bring that energy back, because I think a lot of us think we're talking to one thing, but we haven't had enough education to understand that there's actually a lot of things out there to talk to that you cannot see, that sound like one thing, but you're being duped into thinking it's the other, something else. If you're coming at a perspective saying the Holy Spirit is saying one thing when it's actually just being really hateful and oppressive, I don't think you're talking to the Holy Spirit. And I'm sorry if that makes a few people mad. I wasn't born to make everybody happy. And if you don't like this and you don't want to engage with this in your reality, click off the video. You don't have to keep watching if you don't want to see content like this. So, what's been kind of coming up for me in my personal life lately has been a major crossroads moment. My husband and I just moved to a whole new state. We're living with my in laws for a little bit of time until we figure out what we want to do with our lives, and also when we can find a place to live. Like, we're kind of keeping an open mind and open heart and understanding that we will find the exact right place at the exact right time, and it will serve us exactly how it needs to. And with that kind of order to the universe, you really do have to surrender to the trying to control the outcome of all of it. But I do feel the threads of control trying to string me along and thinking that I'm not in the right place and at the right time. And so I've been doing a lot of mindset work around my work and about my life and how I show up in my life, because what I have created for myself with Left-Handed Alchemy and this little jewelry business that I've created for myself is a lot of stress. I love making art. I was born to be an artist and to create and to help people find like the deepest parts of themselves and connect to themselves. And I think the jewelry is a really beautiful, magical way to do that. And I love the ancestral element of it. Like my most sacred pieces of jewelry are the pieces that were carried and worn by my ancestors. I don't know what it is. And so I want to help create more of that in the world. And when I first started this whole thing, I really leapt off the deep end without really thinking about what it means to have a relationship with money. My relationship with money in the past was really survival based because my entire life was kind of survival based. Like I was really living to get by, not really living to thrive. And as I've healed my generational trauma, I have learned how to regulate my nervous system and get to a place where I can actually maybe step into a life of thriving. But what I've done with my business is create a lot of tension and a lot of stories around how I'm not good enough and around how my creativity doesn't flow and how I have to provide a service for people that is not necessarily in alignment with what I would like to create. And so I would say for the last year and a half or so, I've been really trying to challenge what that looks like and not make anything unless I actually want to make it. That's looked a lot like taking less custom orders and not making things that I think will sell, but rather making things that I enjoy. So that way, if they sit around in my jewelry box for a long time before they ever sell, I'm okay with it because the process of making it was so fun. It felt like connecting to my soul, and it doesn't really matter if it sells or not. You know, it could take 10 years for a piece to sell. I know that when it does sell, it will find the right person, but doing the nervous system work to try and rewire that to be okay with that has taken some trial and error, and it hasn't been a completely smooth, perfect ride. Let me be so free with you. This last week, I think I made a huge mindset shift that I really want to share with you. The goddess Hecate has been really coming up in my like field of consciousness lately, and she is this kind of like this goddess of the in between, of the crossroads. She has a really ancient history. She's older than the Greek gods. She's maybe even older than the Titans. Some people think that she goes all the way back to ancient Anatolia, which would be maybe around the Turkey area. And she's had many different, personalities and representations of who she is over the millennia, basically. But what I really like her for is how she brings light to the darkness. She's basically like the guide that brings you through your own darkness and through your own shadow to show you how to cast light upon it and to integrate it. So the parts of you that you cast to the side that have been associated now with a bunch of shame and areas of your life that you feel like are not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. I think that a lot of this has to do with shame. She helps to bring light and compassion to that so that you can face it, so that you can integrate it, so that you can heal it, and so that you can move on and move forward in a way that is not necessarily rooted in living through the cycles that maybe your ancestors had to live through. This is really like a goddess that could help you break cycles of, you know, epigenetic chains and barriers that kept people trapped in the past. And she's the goddess of witches. And that's really been coming up for me. And I think that there's just been something going on where I'm just not sleeping. I'm just like simply not sleeping. And it's kind of making me feel crazy. But another mindset shift that I had this week was really about my work. I was listening to an audiobook while I went on a really long walk. I've been trying to get 10,000 steps in basically first thing in the morning just to see how it feels. It's about 4 miles, takes me about an hour and a half if I'm not walking too fast. And it's kind of nice. I go to the river walk and I just am with nature and I listen to an audiobook and I just get some sun on my eyes and on my skin and try not to really think about all that I have to do and just focus on listening to my audiobook and just walking and getting my exercise and just getting into my body and feeling good. And I was listening to this book called Real Artists Don't Starve by Jeff Goins. And the book itself is like pretty, whatever. It's just another like self-help artist book. But one part about it that I really enjoyed was this part about apprenticeship and how there's phases of being an artist where you're like this novice and you decide, oh, I want to do this thing, and then you're an apprentice. And this is the part where you really put it all down and soak up as much knowledge as you can. You copy work, you are just hungry to learn and understand how to do things better and master your skills. And I think that because of social media, if I'm being so for real with you guys, because of social media, I got into my mind that the viral moment was going to be the thing that kind of made my business have the success that I felt like I should be having. Like these sold out shop updates, this connection with all these people who really want what I have to offer that just hasn't been the case for me, if I can be so honest. I think part of it is I've had a hard time sharing my work and maybe some self sabotage tendencies to hide from the world and not be so open with what I have to offer because I'm scared of being perceived. But also at the same time, I think that I got stuck in this mindset of fake it till you make it, where there is a practical application for fake it till you make it, especially with mindset changing and mindset shifting. But when it comes to trying to master your craft, people can smell a fake. People can smell when you are not being authentic and not, like actually good at what you do. People can tell when you're green. And so I think I've been waiting for so long for this like viral moment when in reality I just have to put the work in because the amateur is concerned about the waiting for the lucky break while the master knows that the lucky break will come to them because they put the work in. And that really helped me make a few shifts in how I show up at my bench. Like I've had such creative flow this week when I actually show up to my bench that it's been the kind of creative flow that I haven't felt in, I'm not joking, maybe 4 years. It's really been that long since I've really felt creatively abundant. And now I feel it again because I no longer feel attached to this identity of being somebody who needs virality to be what I want to be with my life. And I don't know how that's really affecting my sleep. I think that there's just a lot of shifts that are going on, like my nervous system regulating around not necessarily needing to pay my bills every month. Like I have help, I have support, living in a different place that's not constantly causing me stress. And I don't know, just maybe there's something astrologically. I've been balancing my hormones out. I didn't know that this whole time I just needed to be drinking fennel seed tea. Yeah, that's caused an entire shift within my physical being that I think has caused my hormones to go a little out of whack. But it's okay, it's just a transitional period and it is what it is. But I think that I get to now engage with my reality in a way that I choose. I no longer really feel like a victim to it because if I want to master what I do and be good at what I do, I have to show up and keep practicing and keep trying and keep sharing my voice and keep sharing my craft and keep actually practicing my craft. And it will all just work itself out naturally in the end anyway. And I think that that's brought me a lot of peace in my jewelry and just really my artistic and life practice. Like I don't really subscribe to the idea that I need to grind 24/7 because I tried to do that this week with making videos and shooting content and working at my bench and I actually had a complete crash burnout that maybe is related to my lack of sleep and whatever, but I was so tired yesterday all I could do was read my book. And so I gave that to my body. I think that honoring my body is part of becoming a master and mastering my craft so that I have the ability to have longevity in this whole process so that I'm not so sick and tired of it because I haven't been treating myself well and I've been basically neglecting myself that when I need to take a break, I can now. I no longer really feel attached to this idea of being productive as something that is really virtuous. And I think that this is just really a moment where I am honoring the growth that I have grown over the last 4 years. And it's really exciting. Despite the fact that I feel like I'm actually losing my mind because I have not gotten enough sleep this week, I can also take a moment to revel in the gratitude of this whole situation because the work has been done. Like, I might not have been spending the last 4 years mastering my actual artistic craft, but I have been spending the last 4 years learning how to regulate my nervous system and to reparent myself and to forgive myself and forgive those who hurt me and move on. And I actually no longer feel chained down by the past, where sometimes it haunts me a little bit. Like the CPTSD does show up sometimes, and I isolate myself and I don't let people close to me as much as maybe I quote should. But that is, I still have hopefully I still have a lot of life left ahead of me. So yeah, we can figure it, it's like a journey. Being present is the best thing to do. And I know that for me, part of what my desires are in life is to be really good at what I do and master what I do. And I'm going to do that by showing up and doing the work, whether that's showing up at my bench and cutting metal out and engraving it, or doing the psychological and spiritual work of regulating my nervous system and allowing transformation and alchemy and change to happen. So, yeah, that's really what I have to say this week. So, thanks for being here, y'all.
Well, that was that. Thank you so much for watching. This week, I'm offering a brand new design to the world. It's the Super S necklace and ring. Here's a video of me making it. just, it was great. It was fun. I've, been developing this new collection of pieces called the Symbols line, basically made to order jewelry that is symbolic for you and the life that you live, and I'm adding to it over time, and it's only just begun. The Super S was one that just really seemed to feed my inner child. It was very fun to make the sample for this one, and I hope and I pray to those who are listening that I get to make more, because they were fun and I want everybody to have one who desires one. So you can find that on my website, and you can also find the bell that I made, and you can find a lot of other one-of-a-kind ready-to-ship pieces. And if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, you can subscribe to this channel, let's say, or follow me on Instagram, or the best place to find everything that I'm doing in one simple unified place is going to be my email newsletter. And let me tell you how to get there. You're going to click on the link to my website down below in the description. After a couple seconds, maybe 10 at most, a little pop-up form is going to come up. It's going to offer you 10% off your first order if you enter in your email address. By entering your email address, you are signing up for my newsletter, but you're also getting a little reward. So you can hold on to that for whenever you feel called to purchase. If you ever do, there's absolutely no pressure. Your presence here and your participation and your desire to listen to me yippity yap is enough support. Do not feel like you have to spend money on me, but also you're spending money on yourself. You're not really spending it on me. You're spending it on yourself. You're just supporting me so that I can make you things that make you feel beautiful and good about yourself. So thanks for that. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go sleep if I haven't talked about that yet enough. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Until next time, my friends, farewell.